Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Entrepreneur Architect Podcast, Episode 26. Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur Architect Podcast. My name is Mark R. LePage, and this is the podcast dedicated to a successful life as a small firm architect. My goal is to inspire you to build a better business so that you may pursue your purpose with passion and live the life of your dreams. Today on the Entrepreneur Architect Podcast, I speak with architect and teacher Stephen Chung, the creator and host of the new PBS television show, Cool Spaces. Stephen has a great story to share. We discuss his journey to become an architect, his inspiration for the show, and we even get into a little bit about the criticism he's received from fellow architects for the show's initial focus on big brand firms, and I think you're going to like what he has to say. I'm so excited about this episode. I'm going to get right into it. So here's the interview. Stephen Chung, welcome to the Entrepreneur Architect Podcast.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Sure. It's great to have you here on the show today. To start off our conversation, I'd like to do what I typically do on my interviews, is to ask you to share a little bit about your background and talk about where you started, how you found your way to architecture, and a little bit about your journey from where you were to where you are today.
It's a long journey, Mark, but I've always wanted to be an architect, probably since 9 years old, when I knew what the word was. And it was pretty a singular kind of path. I mean, I knew I wanted to do that. I was in high school already taking sort of classes for that, architecture and art-related classes, and even doing these summer programs at different schools that offer that for high school students that are interested in design and architecture. So that was the path, I mean, for sure. And then I went right into a 5-year program for architecture at RPI, which is Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, upstate New York. And then following that, did 2 years of graduate school at Harvard. So it was like continuous, just single-minded focus with architecture through academia, through high school, through college, through graduate school. And after that, it was going to work for some good offices. I thought Richard Meyer, especially someone I really liked when I was young and growing up, and doing some internship years in New York and kind of bouncing around, but basically trying to accumulate experience, because the idea was always that I was going to have my own office. At least that was the idea. And then interspersed with those internships and working in different offices, began teaching. I taught sort of on and off for 7 years, and I would say it was sort of practice for 7 years and teaching for 7 years, kind of intermingled, I would say, back and forth. But always the singular focus was to be, a great architect and have a good office and be a well-known architect and all of those kind of things. So where did it go wrong? Okay, so I had my own office, and then around 2007, 2008, we were specializing in residential, higher-end residential, multifamily, single-family, loft renovations, that sort of thing. And at the time in Boston, the early 2000s, that was kind of what was happening. So it was a good time for that. But obviously with the recession in 2007, it all came crashing down. And I don't think I could have done anything about it, but I certainly was not diversified, and I wouldn't say I was the greatest businessman, but basically I kind of got wiped out. And it was that time where I said, okay, I got to do something else. I think that sort of introduces this notion of something else, and what would that be?
Right. So what did you do after you? So you closed the firm and you moved on to something else?
Yeah, I dissolved. I had a partnership. We dissolved it, and then I sort of tried to figure out what to do. And really, the first thing was just simply going on, a website like Monster.com and trying to find a job as an architect that I hadn't really done before. That was kind of a new website at the time. And I thought, oh, great, I'll just type this in and see what happens. And amazingly, architect came up 1,000 times within Boston. And, I said, wow, this is fantastic. This is terrific. And what I realized as I began to go through those listings is that none of those architect jobs were for building or design architect. Those were for, seemed like high-tech jobs or solutions architect or network architect, or I don't know, somewhere along the way I didn't pay attention, but our name was appropriated by another industry. They just took it from us.
Right.
And if I wanted to find a job in architecture, I had to sort of type in specifically, designing buildings, designer, that sort of thing. And then when I typed in that, there was no jobs. I said, what's happened? And so that's where it got me thinking about what to do. And it was not TV. The idea was I was just going to write a white paper and just kind of complain about what was wrong and what we needed to do. And then I sort of thought about that, and I figured, well, who would read that? Probably another architect maybe, and we could commiserate about it. I should try to figure out something else. And again, the TV idea was not really something I was thinking about. I was just trying to find a way to do something. And I said, I have to do something very positive, something that's going to not sort of complain about why we need more attention, why people should pay attention to us and what we do is so important, but maybe just show them and find a way that, and that was a TV show, find a way that you could sort of show our passion for what we do, why it's important, why it's kind of cool, not lecture to anyone, just take people to a place where we got so excited about it. And for that, I had to go back. to when I was in college and late high school and graduate school, where I was just so enthusiastic and so excited about everything about architecture. And at that time, in my late 30s, I was not. I was kind of really cynical and kind of, depressed about it all and not feeling great about it. But if it was about that, then people wouldn't listen. Why would they? It wouldn't be the right tone. So I really had to kind of train myself to get back to that place where I really was excited and capture that and broadcast that. So broadcast that meaning, maybe TV would be a way, and to kind of train myself and coach myself to get into that place, on demand. And then began this long odyssey of 7 years to sort of turn it into a television show. I mean, I kind of just said it out loud to myself, like, why don't I just make a television show about architecture? That's the best way to reach a lot of people. And not knowing how impossible that would be and how ridiculous it was, without having any connections, not knowing anything about the business, not knowing anywhere where to begin, but other than just being asked around and saying, how I can start a TV show. It was that kind of ridiculous notion.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story. So you basically, after you dissolved the firm, you saw a need in the profession. You saw the same things I see with Entrepreneur Architect and some of my friends who were leading the conversation, and you wanted to do something about it. And so you went on your journey and you found TV.
I found TV. I just thought, because I was a teacher, that I maybe had some chance to do that as a kind of a principal of a small firm, but doing lots of public meetings and being up in front of people all the time, I felt, I could probably do this. I didn't realize that, those are helpful, but they had nothing to do with television. That's completely something different altogether. But, step by step, I think that I just began to train and get some coaching, and then with that, I sort of submitted for certain things, not for my own show, just, an appearance here, an appearance there. And anytime I did some of those things, I would, sit and talk to people, ask them lots of questions, and, be an appearance in HGTV, and I would be there for an hour, and I would answer a couple of questions, and they'd say, okay, that's great, and just ask more questions, and just kind of learn and just watch how things were done. There's lots of, in TV, there's so much waiting around. Everyone's waiting around while things are getting set up, and it's a great time just to ask lots of questions. So I would just ask lots of questions, and I think when people thought that I was earnest, they said, hey, you should talk to this guy or call that guy or send this guy an email, or what you need is real. You need to put these things together and that kind of thing. So I just began to, over time, slowly accumulate all of these experiences and craft them into these kind of first pitches, which I look back to now were embarrassingly bad. But, being very naive, I think, sometimes can be a positive thing, I guess, in this case.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody who gets to any place has to start at the beginning, and when you start at the beginning, you don't know what you're doing.
That's right.
Those early connections that you made in order to make those early appearances, how did you go from the idea that, okay, I'm going to do a television show and I'm going to start, trying to just reach out, to actually taking that first step and getting that first opportunity?
Because the first kind of jobs that I did, I would say jobs, but the first auditions and things like that I were doing were not necessarily architecture related. I would just, there's lots of commercials and corporate videos, and there's all kind of acting scenarios and all of these things. And I would just make myself available for those. I would go to the castings. I would go to open auditions. I would just try to do all kinds of things, not just architecture or design related. And I just went to those things as a way to learn and practice and audition and get in front of directors and just try something, and reading commercials for shaving cream and whatever it was. It didn't matter. It was more like, okay, what's the objective of this task, and how do I best find that role or whatever it is, and then maybe I actually got a few roles. I did a shaving commercial. I did different commercials that, again, you're on the set and now you're asking people lots of questions and just constantly kind of just slowly accumulating a network of people that I say, hey, I'm actually an architect, and I'm trying to design-oriented kind of programming, and inevitably someone says, I know a photographer or camera guy. You should just write this guy. Or it was really like that. I mean, it was very, very slow, and that's why it took so long. I mean, I was learning, and honestly, I was very, I was very worried because, like, where was I going? A lot of my friends at that time were beginning to, be principals of their own firms, becoming, really getting great reputations or teaching, becoming leaders in schools, and here I was, like, in acting class, reading ketchup commercials for the assignment. I mean, I was really like, what am I doing? I was very nervous. It was like, I just felt like, where am I going?
Yeah, I mean, a recession is a perfect time, though, to kind of jump. If you're already in the position of what you planned on doing falling apart, or you want to reinvent yourself, the recession was a perfect opportunity for us to sort of look at where we were and rebuild and reestablish who we were. So when things got better, we could then take off. So I can imagine a very similar thing happened to you where things fell apart. You decided to take a different route. You gave yourself some opportunity to start small and learn what you needed to learn. So when things started getting better again and the opportunity was there to do something bigger, you'd have the experience and background to be credible in what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the only thing that I found really challenging was that there was really no blueprint. There was no one I could really talk to or advise me or give me, to tell me how to do this. I mean, there really was no map. Like, to create an architecture office, as I mentioned. I mean, I went to certain schools, and then I went to I worked interned in offices, and I began to get some jobs, small jobs, and moonlighting. There was kind of a path because I could talk to people. I knew what they were doing. They were doing similar things, and while I didn't succeed, at least I kind of saw that there was a path for an architect to make his own office and maybe be successful. And but the TV thing, there was no precedent. There was no one to talk to. I started to think about chefs and that sort of scenario, and how are your chefs kind of get people to know who they are, and how do they promote themselves or the restaurants or whatever it is that they're trying to do. Right. I mean, I couldn't really find any other precedents. So it makes also people around me kind of nervous. Like, I was so focused on a certain place, and then to suddenly seem like I'm throwing it away. It's a little nerve-wracking, and it still is. It's still kind of like this is not the principal goal. I did it because I really did want to do it. I never really said I'm going to do this for all architects. I really just wanted to do it something for myself. I wanted to do this, and sort of I was just tired of feeling sort of disrespected or not, people not understanding what we're doing, or it was very personal. And I know that now I think that people are seeing that it really can be helpful to more architects. And I think that's great. I'm very happy about that. But that was not necessarily the goal to begin with. It was really more of just my own personal kind of mission. I wouldn't call it a dream. It was more like a mission. And after a while, like, I can't give up, because then, 3 or 4 years into it, I'm sort of making a little bit of headway, but it still seems so far off and far-fetched. But at that point, I said, I'm going to finish this no matter what. Like, I'm going to finish this.
Right. And it developed into the television show Cool Spaces, which I don't think we actually mentioned yet. So that's what you're doing now. You've launched a new television show called Cool Spaces. It's about architecture. And so talk a little bit about what that is, so we can get a little background on that, and then we'll get a little bit more into that.
What I did was, during the course of this whole pitching and crafting different television pitches, or treatments they're called, actually I created like 5 different shows, none of which kind of worked. And this is based on my experience going to the networks and pitching things to them, and each time coming back with a different kind of pitch, and then understanding each network is a little different. And finally going to PBS and submitting the show concepts, actually for a grant. It was like a grant, or kind of an RFP, like a request for TV proposals, and there was a grant available. I didn't get the grant, but the show, they liked the show. They thought it had a lot of potential. And I have to tell you that was, I think that there was like 16 selected out of 2,000 or 3,000 that they thought could be viable shows. So it's pretty tough to get, to break into that, just to that first level. And then they say, even Stephen says, so we like this idea. We want you to kind of keep working on it. And then we're also going to basically give you a letter that says that we're supporting this show that'll help you go raise money. In other words, it's PBS, public television. You have to go raise your own money. So that's, that is itself its own challenge. But anyway, so fast forward, now we've got our funding, and we've sort of crafted the show, and it is now called Cool Spaces. It's a 4-part with a second floor coming this fall, about contemporary architecture, profiling, public space architecture, meaning spaces that people can visit. This is not a whole private home These are libraries, performance spaces, hospitals, things like that. Spaces that people can visit, public spaces. And that show launches today in a couple of markets in Dallas, North Carolina. So I'm optimistic that, well, I hope people like it, but we'll see. See tomorrow.
Yeah, so congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. You're in almost 50 of the major markets on PBS. Is that correct?
Well, no. I think one of the metrics is they have the top 50 markets. That just has to do with population. So right now the show is 49 out of the top 50, which is great reception. That's fantastic. I mean, that's pretty much as good as you can do for a new show with a nobody host like me, and it's a very good start. I think that means that people have some curiosity, some interest in it. I couldn't believe it, but there has been no show, I don't think, in the United States on contemporary architecture that focuses on architects. There's none. Never been done, which I find astounding. But I guess that has created an opening for us, and I'm happy to take advantage. Hopefully, it opens the door for more.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think the public has lots of sort of buzz in Hollywood and television shows about architecture and architects. They sort of have this fantasy world of who architects are and what architecture is. I'm really excited that you have put together a show that sort of gives the mainstream public some background on contemporary architecture and who develops it, and architects, from an architect's point of view and the owner's point of view. I think it'll be really, really well received.
Well, we'll see. But I think the key was, and this is one of those first kind of directors that I met. It was about something else, but when I told him what I wanted to do with the show, he said, "Hey, don't ever forget that a show has to be about people. It can't be about buildings. Buildings are not stars. People are stars." And again, he didn't mean me. He meant that in your case, it's going to be the owner, it's going to be the architecture team, the design team, it's going to be the end user. People have to connect with them. That's who they identify with, not with this abstract building. And so we focused on that. In every story, we do tell the story, the arc of, the owner who had a problem or had a vision, had a dream, and then brought on a design team that said, okay, this is, we think we can do this, and let us show you the evolution of our process, and then we'll see the end result. And then the end result is the user, the end user. I mean, what do they think about it? Because that's who it's for. And we really, really spend time with all three of those, and I hope people will connect with that and kind of understand it. And, ultimately they may not like the building. That's actually, I'm not so concerned about that. I don't like every building that we profile. I think these are buildings that actually provoke, and maybe some of them are strange, or they're hard to understand maybe. And when you hear it from all the different sides, and you really do come away with a better understanding about what it is, why it was done the way it was, how it works, and why it's pretty cool, I think, because yes, we do try to select buildings that are exemplary. There's something special about each one, and we try to call attention to those things. So like a lay person can then go to one of these stadiums and say, hey, you know what that's for? That's what that's for, and his friend can say, oh wow, that's cool. So that's the idea.
Yeah, that's some good background. I've since we met at AIA convention in Denver at the Architect Live stage. I spoke there, and you were the host there last year. And we met and we spoke a little bit. And I've been following your progress on Cool Spaces since then and have been really excited about it. Following your presentation, because you presented Cool Spaces to the AIA at the last convention, and following that presentation and since then, I've on and off heard some criticism about the show, that it's mainly focused on the public spaces that you're talking about, which are mostly designed by big brand architects. Have you heard that criticism, and what are your thoughts on that?
I have heard that criticism, and not only that, they direct tweet me, which is so nice to be so accessible. And well, there's a couple things. Is that when we make a promo, yes, it really has to be the most visible and best known types. I mean, that's just the reality of they call it a sizzle reel or a promo reel. But if we go back further than that, when I was pitching the show, and let's say I got to someone who was a little bit more serious, like Smithsonian Network or PBS, either one, and I said, hey, it's going to be about architecture. They say, that's going to be tough. Would you get like a Frank Gehry? I said, absolutely. It's like, oh, okay, that's good. That's the only architect they know. As far as and that's the only one. I can say Stephen Hall. They'll just say I don't know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really. I mean, that's the only star architect, Frank Gehry. And yes, we have to get him. Okay, so we got him. Interesting. Who else? And also, some of the building owners I think would be well known. Like who? Like Jerry Jones. Really? Really interesting. I see where you're going. And the end user might be someone who's well known. Like who? Like a Jay-Z for the wow. And okay, I see where you're going. I see this. That's the kind of conversation it's about. I can't say it's going to be about an architect that, a very good architect who's just not well known, but he's doing a really good project. It's really important. It's not going to work. It's not going to work with television. I mean, you have to kind of get that extraordinary names and brands, and you really have to leverage that. I mean, the fact that the first episode is about the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys is a monstrous brand. People are very interested in the Dallas Cowboys. But Building 2 is the Kauffman Center at Performing Arts Center in Kansas City. This is all in the same episode. Let's say they watch the Cowboys episode, and they go, that's kind of cool, and they stay with it. And now they learn about something else, and then the third building is something else. But they're with us for the entire show, and we wrap it up and talk about what makes these three buildings special. I needed the Cowboys brand to get people to buy in and watch, and then it's not a bad building, but I'm just meaning that's the brand that people recognize. They come to the table, the popular press is on it because they think, wow, this is, they're really tackling these very popular projects, and then I hope to bring other people in, and for example, episode 2 about libraries, our second architect is Richard and Bauer, excellent architects from Phoenix, but I don't think that people know who they are. And the first one is, Rem Koolhaas and Olney, and yes, people know who they are, but now they're going to know the second architect and say, oh, that's an interesting architect in a small library in Phoenix. So, yes, we did need the big brands. We did need the big names. I do think that a lot of those big names have big names for a reason. I do think they do great work, but there's a balance there. But when we're promoting it and and pushing it out there, yes, we're always stressing those big names. So I know that as a result, some people have said, oh, this show is about star architects. We hope you fail. And I say, well, first of all, why do you just watch one show before you hashtag and I fail? And why do you want me to fail? I hope if it works out, I mean, it's not a bad thing for architects. And I'm not trying to solve every problem. It's not a panacea. I'm just trying to do my own thing, which is hopefully, get people more excited about architecture. And as I say, it's not going to solve every problem. It's just one show, and hopefully it opens the door for other people to do the things that they want to do because, this was something that was well received. And I tell you, what's really important is that I hope that this works because if this does not work and fails and does terribly badly in the ratings, the next time someone pitches an architecture show at any network, there's no chance because they're going to say, well, we're looking at the precedents. We've seen a show last year that did really badly, and there's been nothing since then. And there was one other show like 5 years ago that had a special that did poorly. I just don't see any growth in this area. And it's done.
Right.
That's why I feel a lot of pressure. I mean, I really want it to do well, and if it does well, then let's say next year Mark LePage says, hey, I want to do something which tackles the issues of housing, da-da-da-da-da. And they go, is there any precedent? And you say, yeah, there's this other show called Cool Spaces, and it did pretty well. And they're like, okay, there's an interest in that subject. Okay, let's craft something and let's work with it. I mean, that's how this works. It's a different business. It's a different business.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially a trailblazer for things to come. If you get out there and you hit them with the big names and get a big response, and the ratings are really well received, then even on your show, maybe another season, you'd be able to start to kind of filter in other names, smaller names, because you'll start having a reputation, you start having a following, people will want to see more, and there might be other opportunities for that. And like you said, other opportunities for other shows. So once you have a big success with what you're doing, other people can come in and fill the gaps and do the things that you're not doing.
Well, I think that the second season, the last episode will be a compilation. We're going to kind of wrap up everything with the best of, and we want to have a couple of sort of guest commentator types they're obviously architecture enthusiasts that know something about it that want to help us. And those are not architects, but, celebrity types that have some interest in architecture. And it's not that I'm starstruck or I feel the need that, like a Pharrell Williams or a Brad Pitt. It's not me. But I just think that those people have very, very powerful brands and can, if they think it's cool, other people tune in. And I think that's the way it works. I mean, this is our celebrity-obsessed culture. And And okay, I get that. I understand those rules, and now let's figure out how best to kind of solve or fulfill our mission. And I know, if there's people that are interested in being known as someone who likes architecture or has interest in architecture, and opinion about architecture, then I'm going to sort of hopefully bring them on and then leverage their brands to help bring more attention to what we're doing. I mean, that's the idea. So we'll keep doing that. And as I say, the more of that, I'm sure I'll get more criticism. You're making it too much about this or that, and I'll say, look, I mean, that's just this one project. I'm one project, and hopefully it just drives some interest in the subject, and someone else can do a different project, and because of, let's say, some interest and success of this project, maybe it'll work for them because, there's some currency there. And I tell you, just based on my experience with these TV guys, that really matters. It's like when you see a successful show in a subject that's sort of different, like Deadliest Catch and people going to catch crabs, then the next year they're fishing for lobsters and they're fishing for every kind of animal there is because they think it's popular and it worked. That formula worked and just opens the door. So I don't expect that to happen, but
it's
certainly more than one cooking show on television.
Yeah.
I mean, there used to be none until 1963. There was one, and they thought, cooking on TV? How is that going to work? And look at it now. There's like 3 networks dedicated to it.
Yeah, look at all the shows about Alaska right now. Everywhere you turn, there's a show about Alaska because they did one show in Alaska and it was successful, and they had the production crew up there. They needed to do more shows, so they tried another one, and that was successful. And then everybody's doing shows about Alaska.
That's right. And again, I don't think that this will be the same ever, but I think it will open it. Well, if it does well, it'll hopefully open the door, and someone else can, Mark LePage can say, hey, I want to do something about this. They'll look at this as a precedent, and if it does okay, they'll say, okay, I see that, I can see that there's some interest in the subject, and it seems to be growing. It's kind of untapped. Okay, what do you have in your mind? Whereas when I've gone to these and typically there's a yearly conference where you can pitch TV shows. So I go to this thing, and they begin to recognize me now because I'm like, no. I said, what do you have now this year? I said, okay, I got a show about kind of travel oriented. And it's always no, but I think they kind of felt not bad for me, but I think they felt like, this guy doesn't give up. He keeps coming back, and we're telling him, hey, look, we like reality shows with characters, with conflict. And I say, okay, I got a show about architecture that will be, and they say, are you nuts? We don't want this. And I said, okay. And I come back the next year, and I think they just think, the guy doesn't give up. So, anyway, that's kind of.
I mean, I think if you keep the focus on the people, like you said, it will be that type of show. I mean, the architecture will be there, and it'll be in the background, and the topic will be architecture, but it'll be about the show, about the relationships and how why the buildings came about in the first place, and why the owners spent all that money, and how they got their money, and how it got built, and the architects and the conflicts between the architects and the owners and the contractors. It could be really, really interesting, and I think it will be. I think it'll be very interesting.
I think one thing which is very important to distinguish is that since it's public television, they try not to. When I say interfere, it's really meant to be the producer and his vision, and of course it's not completely that way. You have to work with them, but if you're a commercial network and we produce a show, and right now the way it is, yes, the architect is always the hero, and everyone's very happy, everyone loves the building, and someone criticized me and said, are you going to tell like the negative and the bad stuff? And I said, no, I'm really not. I think that this is going to be a very positive show. So maybe on a commercial network, they would say, hey, listen, we need to create some conflict here. I don't want to do that. If someone wants to do that, they can do that. I'm not going to do that. I really want to just focus on the buildings that I think are really special and exciting, and focus on really the positive. I don't really need to get into sort of creating artificial conflict or real conflict or lawsuits or that makes for good TV and other subjects. That's not really for me. If someone else wants to do that themselves, good luck.
Yeah,
I'm trying to stay in the positive.
Good answer. I like that, Stephen. And you also mentioned Pharrell Williams and Brad Pitt. Pharrell is going to be the keynote speaker at the convention in Chicago this year in June, and you're going to have the opportunity to announce, to introduce him. He'll be the keynote. What are your thoughts? I mean, you gave us a little bit of your thought on these big celebrities who are sort of wiggling their way into the profession by just being interested in talking about it. What are your thoughts on that topic?
Well, last year we had Colin Powell as a speaker, which I thought was, I don't know, maybe I don't know, controversial, but I mean, it's more polarizing. It's because he's kind of one point was a political kind of, I don't know if he's a candidate, but he's aligned with a certain side and so on. Whereas this guy is just an entertainer. I don't know who doesn't like this guy, but it's interesting because I think some architects are going to say, why are we inviting people like this that when they're not architects, or I don't know, they're not. Who knows? But they just feel like, why are we doing this? And I don't have a problem with it. I think it generates some excitement. I think this is a very successful guy, a very successful producer, a creative person who's created, all kinds of wonderful things that makes people happy and entertains them. And I don't have a problem with it at all. I think he'll be a great speaker. And I'm sort of excited to see the AI break out of the box a little bit and. The younger, more diverse, thinking in a totally different industry, and I think it'd be interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. But I mean, he's not completely removed from architecture. I think he's someone who's trying to do something with Zaha Hadid. He's somebody who, I guess, he built some kind of boys' center or something like that where he grew up in his town. I think the design was supposedly interesting, and I think he tried to design some furniture or has designed some furniture. I mean, I think he's interested in creating things and creating environments and creating maybe architecture. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say.
Yeah, I agree. I from my point of view, the more we talk about architecture, the better. I mean, if they want to talk about architecture and we're talking about architecture, the key to changing the profession and getting the profession to succeed and become fruitful for architects is to get the mainstream to understand what we do and how we do it. And the only way they do that is to have a conversation, is to have that dialogue out there in mainstream, and so it can be told. And if Pharrell Williams is one of those people who can kind of get that jump started, or Brad Pitt can get that jump started, more power to them, and it will benefit from that.
I think that there's something really interesting about that. Is that I think that when non-architect types are, let's say, at a cocktail party, and they say they sort of like architecture to someone else, I think people are like, wow, that's cool.
Right.
I do think that they consider that as like, oh, wow, you're a connoisseur. I like collecting wine. I like architecture. I like, oh, really? Huh? I think that it's kind of considered cool, which is good. And I would like it if it would be, more and more would keep sort of talking about architecture in those terms. But I think it's great to have someone like a Pharrell Williams or Brad Pitt, both of whom are enormously popular, and I think people really like them. It's not like these are polarizing figures that say, hey, I love architecture, I'm aligning myself with architecture, and I say, oh, geez, this is someone maybe he's not the greatest person we want to be aligned with. But, I mean, these are very talented people that I think people really like and respect, and the fact that they say that they're really interested in architecture, that's great. Welcome. Spread the word, come to the convention, and that creates a lot of buzz, and it brings more attention than just the architecture press. I think other press, lifestyle press, they go, wow, why is Pharrell, speaking at the architecture convention? Well, it turns out he likes art. Well, that's great stuff. It's all good. So no, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's on the contrary, I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Stephen. This has been a really great conversation. What's the best way for people to find Cool Spaces on television?
Right now, they must go to our website. That's coolspaces.tv, coolspaces.tv, and there's a tab there called TV Show. You can click there. You can learn more about the show. There's some reels, videos, all of that. But most importantly, there's something called Schedule, and you can see in your market where it's airing. It's just starting today in the first markets, and over the next 2-3 months, depending upon where you are, it'll appear on that schedule, or check your local listings. But it's coming.
Yeah, I'm excited. I checked WLIW, which is my local PBS station, and it's there, but it's not scheduled yet, so I have to sit here and be patient.
Right. But please be patient, because programmers don't like when lots of people, especially architects, start to bombard them with requests. So just be patient. It's coming. I can assure you that all the major markets have grabbed onto it, and they're just going to schedule it. The first possible month was April, and that would have been a rush for a network to get it on. In Dallas, because of the stadium, they wanted it right away. But others, some of the bigger ones like Boston and New York and LA, I think that's going to be June. So. Mm-hmm.
Well,
June's good for TV.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to it. If listeners wanted to reach out to you, you already said Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, and any place else that you prefer them to reach out to you?
if you go to the website, you can see all the contacts, and you can find Twitter, you can find emails, you can find everything. So that's the way to do it. Just go there. We've got it all kind of all right there.
And that's coolspaces.tv. Okay.
That's right.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mark.
And this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate your time and the background that you gave us on the show and your thoughts on the other things we discussed.
No problem, Mark. And continued success with your you call it a blog, or what do you call it?
Yeah, I do the blog and the podcast.
Your enterprise. Your enterprise.
Yeah. I call it a platform.
Good luck with your platform. Good luck with your platform.
I'm trying to make a difference, just like you.
See you in Chicago.
Yeah, I'll be there. Thanks. We'll see you then. So there you go. I love what Stephen is doing with Cool Spaces. I just finished watching a sneak preview of episode 1, which premiered on PBS stations this past week on April 3rd. It was actually the day that we recorded the interview, and I am very excited about what Stephen has done here with Cool Spaces. The show is entertaining, it's informative, it shows the world what we architects do and why we do it. He walks viewers through each building featured, talks about what makes each space special, and he introduces us to the architects and the designers responsible for each creation. As an architect, I loved it from beginning to end, and anyone interested in architecture, and that's pretty much everyone that you and I know, will be fascinated by the forms and the spaces and the process that Stephen explains throughout the episode. I am very happy that we finally have a mainstream show that introduces the public to our world. And wait until you see the ad created by AIA in support of Cool Spaces. I think you're going to love that too. Well done, AIA. I'm really happy with what you did there. I want to know what you think about Cool Spaces. Have you seen it yet? Are you in one of the markets that it's aired so far? Go to entrearchitect.com/episode 26 and leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I'll also embed the teaser video of Cool Spaces, so if you're not in one of the markets where it's being aired yet, and you will be, it's being aired in pretty much every major market in the country. So look for it on your local listings. But I'll post the teaser video and the ad from AIA, so you can take a look at that and let me know what you think. Go to entrearchitect.com/episode 26 and leave me a comment. This is an important moment for us architects. If Stephen's show succeeds, we may see many more shows featuring real world of architecture. You know, as a residential architect, one of my daily challenges is battling what I call HGTV effect, where clients have unrealistic expectations for their projects. And if we have more shows featuring real-life architects, the entire profession will benefit. So I'm 100% behind Stephen and what he's doing, and I hope that it succeeds. And I think you, the listener, everybody listening here, should support Stephen and the show, and watch and make sure that the ratings are reflecting that we like what he's doing there. So leave me a comment and we'll chat. And just one quick reminder before I go: please visit iTunes and leave me a review. I received several new reviews this past week, and I want to just leave a quick thank you to JB99, Andrew A. Scott, Evan Troxel, and Paul Giuliano. You guys all left great reviews. Thank you very much, and 5-star ratings. Thank you so much. You guys rock. And I am still working hard on Entre Architect Academy. If you're interested in knowing the details of launch day for Entre Architect Academy before everybody else, you can go to entrearchitect.com/courses and sign up for that list. And as soon as I know, you'll know, and we'll all be happy at Entre Architect Academy. So I want to thank Stephen Chung for joining me this week and for his leadership in the profession as he shares our world of architecture with viewers throughout the nation, and if all goes well, with the rest of the world too. So until next week, my name is Mark R. LePage, and I am an entrepreneur architect. Thank you very much for listening.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark Arlepage, founder of Entre Architect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.